What's going on, everybody? Today we got ourselves 5 players who need to leave their current club and find a new one. Now, there aren't really any criteria for fitting this list. There could be plenty of people who, could leave clubs. For this, we went with big players, used to be big players, are big players who just probably, to jumpstart their career again, probably need to leave clubs. So you'll see the theme as we go, obviously, but let's jump right into it. Number 1, Felipe Coutinho, currently at Barcelona, was at Bayern. At the moment of this video, I'm not sure if his loan was extended or not to cover the Champions League. We'll see. I mean, it's not too huge of a deal because they're not making the loan permanent, and he'll be heading back to Barcelona this summer. Anyway, a player who had a really torrid time after his £140 million move from Liverpool, had a torrid time in his first year, found a couple of loans that haven't really worked out either, and obviously looking for a way out of the club. It's a difficult situation because with players like this, you spend all that money if you're Barcelona, $150 million, you don't want to let them go cheap. I mean, you want some of your investment back. You spend $150 million, you want some of it back. But also, he's just taking up wages. Is someone you need to get out of the club, someone who wants to leave the club to, start up somewhere new, see if he can get his game back. He's getting a little bit older now. I mean, it's a very tough situation. I'm not sure where his best club would be. Maybe he figures out a way to, or maybe they figure out a way to get him to a club where he's going to get playing time. It doesn't necessarily need to be a huge club. He's been linked with Arsenal, Tottenham, Chelsea. I don't think he goes to a team like Chelsea. I think he's going to have to suck it up and go to a, maybe someone who's fighting for a Champions League spot or just outside the Champions League to really get his career going. Number 2, Mesut Ozil, someone who I thought should have left last year. Some of these players, if they really wanted to move on and things, I think they'd find a way to get their contract terminated without the club having to pay all that money back. But Ozil's issue is, one, he doesn't get on with any of the managers, it seems. He hasn't been in any of the recent Arsenal squads toward the end of the year. He probably has zero future here, and I imagine Arsenal want to move him on, but this is another case of how do you buy a player like Ozil? He's going to want huge wages like he is on Arsenal. It's a difficult thing. He hasn't played a lot. Ozil's problem, I feel personally, is attitude and work ethic. Ozil is a really good player, and he's a really good player when he's playing in teams that hold on to the ball. When he was at Real Madrid, Arsenal for a little bit, but once Arsenal's started being dominated a little bit by some of the bigger sides, you see him collapse a little bit, and his attitude's not the greatest, and that kind of leads to being dropped a little bit more for someone who's going to go out there and really work their tail off against some of these bigger teams. It's slowly, at Arsenal, slowly faded away in terms of gameplay for him specifically, but it is what it is. Those things happen, but here he is stuck at Arsenal, someone who's older now, again, which is a bit of a theme on this list, not all 5, but a bit of a theme. To get anything out of what's left of his career, he needs to find a different place to play his football. Number 3, Gareth Bale, someone whose career has been very strange to me, the way it's kind of unfolded. Not because of how it's unfolded, but just almost the reasons for it unfolding this way. Gareth Bale obviously moving from Tottenham to Real Madrid for what was £100 million, I think, at the time. Really good player at the time as well, but it almost seemed like Real Madrid were reluctant to let him flourish almost. And after 200 games, he had been a part of like 130 goals or something like that. And every time I saw him play, he was playing really well. And he just still seemed to not get any praise or anything like that. attitude, obviously not the greatest, but he never got enough for being on the pitch. He won 2 Champions League finals practically on his own. The Liverpool one, and then the one against Atletico Madrid. He scored the first goal in extra time that really opened it up. Gave them the lead in extra time to let them go on to win 4-1. Just not the praise I thought he'd get, and it just seemed to sour and sour and sour. And with Bale's not so great attitude and the money he's making, he's always just going to sit around and collect paychecks. Today, as I'm making this video, he was left out of the Champions League squad to face Manchester City. It seems his career here is over. Whether he finds a way out or Real Madrid find him a way out, it'll be once again tough, because Bale's not going to want to leave those wages for something that's not semi-comparable, and you're also going to have a team pay up semi-comparable wages. It's going to be difficult. But we'll see what happens with his career going forward. He needs to leave and just get back to playing football. Number 4, Wilfried Zaha. This one is a little bit different than the others. The other 3 or 4 are older kind of players whose careers have stalled, and a variety of different reasons they are still at the club that they don't really fit into. Zaha is one of those players who I call in-betweeners, players who are really, really good, who are not going to walk into maybe top 4 or 5 sides, but they're good enough to have a part. But they're also, since they're not going to walk into sides like that, they get priced out of moves, because big sides aren't going to pay 60, 70, 80 million pounds for players who aren't going to play theoretically week in and week out. Another player like that would probably be Jack Grealish, a player who can really probably play at a top side. Whether it's week in and week out is different. So he's valued at 80 million by Aston Villa, and you're going to have a hard time finding someone at the top level to come in and pay that sort of money. So he's one of those players who I call an in-betweener. But Zaha, for me, has been stuck in this position for a really long time. 3 or 4 years now he's been priced out of moves, and at some point he needs to force his way out. If he ever wants to get to that point in his career where he said he's playing for a big club and stuff like that. Obviously he was at United for a brief spell, didn't really play any games really, maybe a couple, but went back and started playing elsewhere, a couple loans, and then eventually sold off. It's time to force your way out if you want to fulfill that. He's starting to get up there. I'm not sure how old he is, 26, I believe. But it's time. If you want to go ahead and fulfill that, if you want to be playing your prime football at a really big club, it's time to force your way out there a little bit. He's been the good club servant, I think. He's better than what Crystal Palace are, and that I don't mean any disrespect by that. Nobody's bigger than the club, but he's probably a little bit too good for where the club currently are and where they think they may be, even if they want to be, overly optimistic about their projections in the next couple of years. He's probably still a little bit ahead of that. He probably deserves his move, but it's another player who probably needs to leave to really step up in his career. And the final player, James Rodriguez. Yes, another Real Madrid player, someone who lit up that World Cup for Colombia and then immediately made a humongous move to Real Madrid. And then after a decent first season, he is sort of faded away. Had a couple of loan moves to different places. Bayern, of course, he is 29 now. How time flies. He got old really quickly. But another player who's in limbo. Played 9 games-ish this year, something like that. Couple injuries here and there the last couple of years. It's another player who's time to move on and, jumpstart their career again, playing at a different place. He's been linked to a variety of different places. Atletico Madrid being the most recent one. He may fit in there. But one of those players who needs to go. He's 29, and this is it. If you're going to stick around another 2-3 years and just sit around, you're wasting your own career. Someone who did that I never understood was Theo Walcott, who never really played and then wanted to play up front and do a variety of different things, and he just stuck around at Arsenal and then kept signing contracts and then complaining he wanted to play, and it made no sense to me, his career, or what he did with his career, because a lot of it was on him for a pretty long time there. Walcott signed an extension even though he wanted to leave somewhere in the middle there. It was very strange with Theo. But if you don't go ahead and change, or if you don't go ahead and force change, you kind of get stuck in these spaces. And obviously with some of these guys, it's difficult. You're on high wages. You don't want to lose your quote-unquote way of life, or you want to get as much money as you can out of the game while you're still good, which is fair. Willian right now wants the security of a 3-year contract, and that's kind of what's keeping him from staying at Chelsea, I think. And that's completely fair. But if you want to get back to playing football, and you want to get back to playing good football, these 5 have to find different places to do it, guys. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Other than that, guys, that is it. Hope you've enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more. And peace.